Time now for Afternoon Headlines, sponsored by Ram Trucks. Nothing stops Ram. Yeah, I got distracted when Coach asked if I would jump through a table lit on fire. The Raiders had a busy offseason. They signed Kirk Cousins, then drafted Fernando Mendoza. But he says, listen, yeah, it's not a quarterback competition. We're just friends in a room competing. Coach, any chance Mendoza's the week 1 starter?
Yeah, I would say there's a chance, but it's an outside chance. I don't think organizationally that's what they want him to do. I think organizationally the reason you bring in a guy like Kirk Cousins, and look, we see it year after year where you've got a quarterback drafted high in the first round, in this case, number 1 overall, and you bring in a veteran who ideally can at least get through the first part of the season, give that guy a chance to learn. Now, typically you get to game 4 or 5 and it switches out, and I think there's zero chance he doesn't start at some point during the season and early in the season. I just don't think he's going to start at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you just want the Raiders to trust the process, right? You didn't sign Kirk Cousins to protect Mendoza's feelings. You signed him so that Mendoza doesn't play early, right? Like you want this situation to go as smoothly and seamless as possible. But I also think, and Coach can attest to this, there's a checklist for Mendoza, right? Like you want to see him, can he handle the huddle, right? Can he stay on schedule with the football? Can he do things from an operational standpoint where you feel like you can trust him out there? Because and I'm glad Coach is here. For a lot of young guys start in the training camp, and because I'm working out in gyms and I've seen all these guys preparing for camp, and they ask me, hey, Willie, how do I get on the field? The coach has to trust you, right? They know what you can do from the neck down. From the neck up, can they trust you? If they can't trust you between the ears, then you put my job at stake. So I think for Mendoza, man, I think he has to understand, like, listen, there's a checklist, there's things you're going to have to do, and I'm not sure we're going to see all of it in the preseason. So that's why you take your time through this and kind of, let him get some crumbs along the way. Kirk doesn't have the physical abilities for, like, running or making plays with his feet anymore, but he has the answers at the line of scrimmage, and he can operate in that fashion.
And look, he was 5-3 as a starter last year. He hasn't been great over the last 3 years. He's 2 games over 500. But he's more than competent enough to go and lead the Raiders in the early part of the season. And we want rookies to play at a high level right away. And they don't get enough credit for how big a transition this is. New coaching staff, new city, new playbook. The volume of plays that they have is so much bigger. The volume of defenses that they have to deal with is so much bigger. So there's this expectation that, he's a great player. We're going to plug him in. He's going to play right away. It's a serious. And
to piggyback off that, in 2013, when I got to the Jets, man, we had Geno Smith as a rookie. And one of the things we realized, as much as we wanted to protect him in the pocket and make sure he did all the things he needed to do to be an efficient quarterback, you also got to protect his confidence, right? Because if you have a couple bad games out of the gate, you start feeling like you don't belong there. And now you got the media. And now social media is here. And now you got people starting to question, like, man, did we make the right decision? Let's get the old man out here to kind of calm flames. That's not good for Mendoza. So just be patient, and let's see what the young fellow looks like.
I just want to show you guys the history of it. Like the recent track record is number 1 picks play in week 1. Now, that doesn't mean that it was the right decision for all of them, and like there are success stories on there, and there are guys who really struggled and everywhere. So you can find the data point to support either argument of sit, rest, whatever. But you got to go back a full decade to get a number 1 pick quarterback who made his debut past the midway point of the season in Jared Goff. So my thing with this has always been Kirk Cousins shouldn't really even factor into the equation. Like, if Mendoza is ready, Mendoza should play. If Mendoza is not ready and Kirk Cousins gets hurt, then Aiden O'Connell should play. Like, you should only play Fernando Mendoza when Fernando Mendoza is ready. But when he's ready, he should play as soon as possible so that you can figure it out. But we start in Philadelphia, where LeBron James has now officially signed his 2-year, $8 million deal to finish his career with the Sixers. LeBron took to Twitter to say, "This is my last decision. I'm not going for money. I'm not going for family. What am I really playing for at this point? I still want to sacrifice. I still want to work. I still want to grind. I still want to compete, to win and to have a chance at the feeling of winning another championship." So we'll take a quick look at their starting lineup. Of course, this is projected, and there's going to be a lot of load management, you would imagine, with LeBron and Joel Embiid. There is only one ball, though. I checked and was able to confirm that. So KOC, Nick Friedel, back here with us. This is the fun part, boys, and I will admit it's a little bit of a emotional letdown talking to you two after talking to Ben Stiller, my new best friend. It's not a big deal. KOC, I'll start with you. Let's do the X's and O's basketball thing here. What is LeBron's role? What is this going to look like?
You're going to see LeBron James and Tyrese Maxey playing a lot of point for this team. Maxey's development as the speed and then LeBron as the brains. They have two different types of creators who can help initiate this offense in the half court. And that's what I think it's going to look like. And for LeBron James, ultimately, I think he's the one type of player this roster was missing. They have the big Embiid. You can run offense through him. He can play down low, can play outside. They have the go-to scorer in Jaylen Brown. They have the speedy guard in Maxey, the athletic guard in Edgecombe. What they were missing was the connective piece, the glue that LeBron James can provide this roster. And so ultimately, I'm sure when he looked at all the other options he had, he saw himself as a player who can help lead the team in certain situations for Philly, but also be a guy who can just screen and cut and make the extra pass on the Sixers roster. And that's exactly what he's going to add to this team as a piece that helps highlight all the strengths of the other players and makes them better.
Guys, what's crazy about this, given that LeBron's one of the greatest we've ever seen in the league, is he's really the fill-in-the-gaps guy. And KOC, I'm with you. Like, he's going to end up running things and he's going to split time with the ball, but he can do whatever they need. He's done everything. He can fill in any position. If somebody gets hurt and they go down for a while, LeBron can step in and fill in those gaps. So Philly knows that it has one of the greats, but one of the reasons why they have to feel so good is that he still has the ability, even at the advanced stage that he's at, to play at such a high level anywhere on the floor. And no, you don't want him to get burned out early in the regular season, and you like for everything to be stretched a little bit more and give him some space to do what he wants. But in a pinch, there's nobody you'd rather plug in anywhere right now than LeBron James, given what he's already accomplished.
So I think there's a few obvious things here, right? Like, obviously, Nick Nurse is going to have to manage Joel Embiid so that he's healthy for the postseason. LeBron's 42. He's probably not playing on a lot of back-to-backs. You want him healthy for the postseason. So I think in the regular season, there's going to be plenty of Jaylen Brown gets satisfied and gets his, and Maxey gets his, and Edgecombe will still have time to shine and develop. But there was this moment, and we talked about it a bit on the show, and we're going to bring it back here, but there was a moment that was caught on a cell phone by a fan that was courtside at a Lakers game late in the season when Luka and Austin Reeves were out. He said, they put me on the shelf, you know, like that was when Luka was out and he had those amazing games late, those statistically great games late. And the only thing basketball-wise that surprises me about Philly is how much of LeBron is going to have to do what KOC just said. Like, set the screens and do the dirty work. Is that what LeBron wants to do? Or does he still want to truly run the show? Because if we look just at the field goal attempts, the simplest way to count usage, he leaves a guy in Luka who took the most shots per game to team up with the guys who took the second and third most shots per game. And then if you actually do usage rate over the last two seasons, his teammates, 4th, 6th, and 20th, and Maxey's number is increasing over the last 2 years. Obviously, LeBron is a basketball genius, and I tend to believe that basketball players figure it out over the course, like that basketball players play basketball, positionless, all that stuff. So I'm not sounding alarms here, but if LeBron didn't love high usage rate, play off the ball with Luka, now KOC, doesn't he have a couple of those guys in Philly? And Jaylen Brown wanted to be the number one, and now he's some nights going to be the number 4 or the number 5. I don't think this is nothing, all of those guys being such high usage rate players.
I think it's a little bit of a question there, to your point, Danny, with like what this team is going to look like. What's the hierarchy going to look like? And we'll see how that plays out over the course of the season. But I do think with Luka, it's not just Luka, it's Luka plus Austin Reeves with the Lakers as well. Luka is a guy who dominates the ball with his hands. Austin Reeves, who can play without it as well, but likes to dribble, play out of pick and roll, slow things down a little bit as well. And so the Lakers style of play with sharing the ball there was things slow down. The offense is very much Luka-centric. With the Sixers, we'll see. It's hard to predict, right? I think with
But it should be faster, to your point, right? It should be faster.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the appeal here when you have athletes like Maxey and Edgecombe running the floor. Maxey's one of the quickest players, decisive players as well in the league. And so I think with this Sixers offense, that's where I think LeBron probably sees appeal, and I can help and support these guys, and I can be the guy sometimes as the one initiating the offense, but then in other situations, he can be that connector. He can be that screener. He's shown at different stages of his career willingness to do that stuff. So I'd imagine we're going to see a hybrid with Philadelphia in the ideal dream of this roster with what it could potentially be.
Guys, I think the LA experience for LeBron actually helps him going into Philly because he knows that he got put on the shelf for a little bit and he was the third option. And he saw where he could pick his spots. And KOC, to your point, Philly's roster is loaded. So he doesn't have to do it at all every night. He can take his moment and go, all right, this guy's got it going, or Jaylen Brown's got it going tonight, or Edgecombe, whomever it may be. He just has to be prepared for the postseason. And so often when you get a new team and you're trying to weave in different people, you have these ups and downs in the regular season. I think that part is important and they have to learn each other. But so long as they're ready to go in the middle of April, guys, so be it. So I think he knows exactly what he's getting into. There's a reason he picked this place with all this young talent. And if those guys play at a high level and can learn from watching and listening to him, he's going to do his part. And when he needs to take over in those moments, especially later in the season, he'll be ready to do it.
All right, you mentioned April. Let's fast forward all the way to June and stay in Philadelphia. It turns out if you add Jaylen Brown and LeBron James in the same offseason, Vegas kind of likes your chances, and the odds of winning a title increase. The Sixers are now tied with the champion Knicks for the third best odds to win the title, behind the Spurs and the Thunder, who are tied for first. So pretty interesting looking at the odds makers here. Nick, LeBron said compete for a championship, but is it officially title or bust for LeBron and the Sixers?
It has to be. When you make these moves, Danny, and you add LeBron James on top of everything else, that's the only thing they're going to be judged by. Nobody in Philly is going to be like, yeah, we got to the second round again and we got bounced. And they're going to be really happy about that. So they've got to win a title. If they don't, it will be a failure. I don't think it changes LeBron's legacy at all. But as far as this Sixers group and whatever they may or may not become, if they don't win a title in these next couple of years, everybody will look at this group, shake their head, and wonder what might have been.
Of course, it's title or bust. Without a doubt it is. LeBron didn't go here to get to the conference finals with the Philadelphia 76ers. He came here to win a championship. He said so himself. I think in his eyes, he would even admit it's title or bust for the Sixers. And that wasn't necessarily the conversation with his past decisions where there's talk about, well, we know it's going to take time with the Lakers. We got to make trades. This choice is about this season. And if this team looks like they're sputtering mid-year, they need to be aggressive with making moves. This is that type of roster where they need to go all in around this season, especially given, as we talked about earlier, the West does have the juggernauts with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. But in the East, there's still no clear-cut favorite. There's still just a bunch of really good or great teams, the Knicks included, who I think should be considered the favorites, but the Sixers are right there behind them.
So I'm obviously with you guys. If LeBron's willing to say it, why would I hold him anything short of it? I don't really see much downside for LeBron specifically. Like, everyone talks about Philly and how tough of a market it is. How much are they really going to turn on him? He chose you, and he's playing for the minimum. He's playing for the minimum. Like, it is just extra. Like, it's just it's a bonus. So maybe there's a world where something can happen. Like, LeBron's going to give you effort. LeBron is going to play. LeBron is going to play at a high level. I would think that Joel Embiid has to be sitting here being like, okay, if I can't win with this, with LeBron playing for the minimum, then it was obviously never going to happen. The most games he's played in the last 3 years is 39. I know there is some debate in the sports science community about whether or not you should play more to stay healthy or you should sit to stay healthy, but clearly with Embiid and his knees, they have erred on the side of trying to sit and preserve him. Do you think there's any world, like how aggressive will they be? Because I don't think they can win a title without a healthy Joel Embiid, given that there's a good chance you'd have to go through Victor Wembanyama in the finals. I am fascinated about what they're going to do with Embiid. Like, does he play 30 games this regular season? Does he play 0 games this regular season, just in order to guarantee that he's healthy for the playoffs. Because I think like title or bust for 76ers, we're asking that through the prism of LeBron and his legacy because he's one of the greatest of all time. But the key to me to the Sixers actually having a shot to win the title, KOC, is actually Joel Embiid.
Look, I think you're spot on that Embiid needs to be healthy in April, May, and June. I think the Sixers can win 50-plus games if Embiid plays 0 regular season games.
Exactly.
But to win the finals, they need Joel Embiid because there are other centers. Ariel Hekporti, the backup to the backup last year with the New York Knicks, played behind Mitchell Robinson. And then they also have a Dembona, who's a solid hustle center, but not necessarily a guy who's going to be an enforcer for you for 30 minutes a game. And then LeBron James, he's played some small ball 5 as well, but you don't want to lean on that for too long. You need Joel Embiid to stay healthy. And if Embiid's not healthy, I think that'll raise big questions about what you do with that big $58 million contract with 3 years remaining.
Guys, here's the problem. Even if Embiid didn't play at all in the regular season and it was all about getting him ready for the playoffs, there's no guarantee night to night that he can stay on the floor, even resting as much as he did. There is so much question around all the injuries that he's dealt with and his inability to stay out there. Danny, to the much larger point, if Embiid can't stay out there and LeBron's serious about playing 2 years, I absolutely expect the Sixers to do everything they can to move him a year from right now. Because you cannot go into next year if he can't stay healthy and go, oh, no. Well, maybe now's the time. You've got LeBron. You made the move for Jaylen Brown. You've got Maxey, and you've got Edgecombe. You need somebody else who can be out there every night. If it doesn't happen for Joel this year in Philly, I think that's the end of Joel in Philly.
I don't know what the market is for another year of an injury with Joel Embiid and $60 million per on that contract. But yeah, I agree. They would definitely be trying to move him, and there are massive expectations in Philly. Guys, appreciate it as always. Thanks for hanging out with us. Back with Coach and Willie talking Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes officially made his return to the practice field just 221 days, but who's counting, after undergoing ACL surgery. Here's the quarterback on how he's feeling. So he'll be back for week 1. Willie didn't have that one, I did. But what are your, who's counting? But what are your expectations now that he will have a full training camp and he will be playing week 1?
Well, I expect him to be Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, there's some limitations with the knee. I do think right now the goal for Patrick Mahomes going into the season is getting the ball out of his hand quicker. If he can do that, that's going to help him out. Because I think right now, from an offensive standpoint, like, there still is, I think, a B. If I was to grade the roster, I think it's a B roster, right? I do. I think they have some issues in the receiving core. I think they need another back that can be explosive next to Kenneth Walker. Who knows what Travis Kelce can give you at his age? I think the offensive line is going to be better. Supposedly Justice Simmons is back in the building. He looks healthier, and there's all reports there that he's in good shape. So right now it's about, all right, what can we do with what we have right now? Because if you're Xavier Worthy, they've been looking for him to be a vertical threat. That hasn't necessarily popped off the tape. Rashid Rice, they need him to be kind of a Swiss Army knife a little bit. That's still in question. So there's questions on this roster, especially on the offensive side. Defensively, you know the gaps. But I think offensively, as long as you got 15 in the building, there's hope. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes from last season, whether that's going to be good enough. So collectively, they were 25th in rush yards per game. They're sacked the 11th most with 47. He was sacked 6.4% of the time, which was the highest of his career, coming off the year before, which was the highest of his career. And then he had the lowest quarterback rating at 89.6, the first time he's ever been in the 80s in his career. So it wasn't marquee Patrick Mahomes by any stretch last season. Now he's coming off the injury. They haven't added that many pieces to this offensive group. So which player are we going to get? How much is the injury going to affect him in terms of the things he talked about, being able to move around the pocket, do all those things that we're so used to seeing him do? And he's got to play a lot better. I'm not taking any responsibility from the rest of the group, but we've got to see a better version of him than we've seen.
I know running back is a devalued position, but Kenneth Walker is the best running back Patrick Mahomes has ever had, no? Like, he's better than Kareem Hunt. I think Walker's really good. And if Simmons is healthy, That's a pretty big upgrade for their offensive line as a first-round talent left tackle. So to me, my gut tells me that we're going to be talking about Mahomes in the best terms that we've talked about him since. He hasn't had MVP stats since the 2022 season. He was the Super Bowl MVP and was unbelievable in the 2023 playoffs. So, but it's really been a few years since we've seen Patrick Mahomes be dominant statistically. My gut tells me by week 4, we're talking about Mahomes having a running game more than we're talking about anything from this injury. Like, I don't think this injury is going to matter that much once we get into the season.
Yeah, that would be huge. If they're willing to consistently run the ball and they're able to do it effectively.
They gave him a lot of money. I assume that they're going to.
Yeah, and I hope they do, because that'll help the offensive line. That'll help the play action. That'll help everything that we just talked about. It should be a real positive. If they have to play 8 in the box to stop Kenneth Walker, that opens up some things outside in terms of what he can do in the passing game. So yeah, that should be a huge part of answering the questions that they had last season. And the other thing is, when you go to 3 consecutive Super Bowls, you have the 3 shortest off seasons, back to back to back. So having a long off season, it's not what anybody in Kansas City wanted, but that helps too. Where Travis Kelce is, he's had a pretty busy off season. Hopefully, we're getting somewhere close to what he was last season. I mean, ideally better, but at least close.
I'll say this. They don't have an alpha 1 receiver, but I do think because of their resume and their pedigree, and because of the schedule, we can put up the schedule, we can pop it up. Like, I think their schedule gives them a lot of break. Like, their first 3 games right out the back, I mean, the Broncos, they can catch an L, but you got the Colts, Dolphins, Raiders. They could be 3-1 coming out of September plus
the league made that schedule just in case Mahomes' ACL wasn't good to go.
100%.
Right? Like,
100%.
They absolutely gave them.
DP,
starting with Denver, though?
Okay, fine. You have to start with a division game.
Yeah. But DP, look at coming out of the bye week. They got Murderers Row. And then after that, it lightens up. So with what they have and everything with the limitations with Mahomes, they won't win the division. The division will be the Broncos. But nevertheless, they can make the playoffs with what they have right now.
So listen, I won't write off the division and I won't write off Mahomes, man. He's one of the greatest talents in the history of the sport to play it. I think that a straight ACL tear with sports science these days, most guys seem to recover from that and make it seem like it's a nothing injury. It is absolutely a serious injury to us mortals. These guys are not like they are not like the rest of us.
I get that, but Brady coming off of ACL is different because Brady stayed in the pocket. His special power is improvising with his feet and pushing the pace with his feet. So it's different. His mobility will be in question.
And that's always the problem with guys who rely so much on mobility and their ability, whether to run with the ball or move around the pocket. When they get injuries like that, it's how much of that has stayed and how much is gone.
We talked a lot of Kenneth Walker, I predict, this season, boys. Let's talk Pats here. It took Drake May just 2 years to make it to the Super Bowl, but as the 2 guys to my left and right know, he knows that it's going to be difficult to make it back. So here's Drake May on avoiding the dreaded Super Bowl hangover. So Willie, you won a Super Bowl, tried to defend it as a player. Coach, you're a 3-time Super Bowl champ. What's the key for Drake May and the Pats to avoid the Super Bowl hangover?
Yeah, I don't love that he led with "it's not very hard," because that makes me think that he doesn't understand how hard it is. And that was the biggest issue. After we won our first Super Bowl, we went into that next offseason not really knowing what we didn't know, and that you have to do all the things that you did the previous season, but you've got to do it better because everybody, granted they didn't win it, but being in it, everybody's measuring themselves against you.
But that's what I was going to ask. Is it different? Like the obvious motivation is they lost the Super Bowl.
It is. Well, look, I've never been in that situation, so I can't really talk about it. But it is difficult in the sense that every single week you're getting someone's best shot. Every single week you need to be up. Last year they came in and similar to the way we talked about Caleb Williams, there wasn't the expectation. So teams took them differently than they're going to take them this year. So the idea that this isn't going to be hard, we didn't wake up early enough in that next season. We ended up going 9-7. We tied with the Jets and the Dolphins, and I think the Jets went to the playoffs that year. As we got further along in the season, if we'd gotten the playoffs, I think we would have had a real shot. But we didn't realize what it took early on, and it killed us.
Interesting. So I got drafted in 2006, and it's right after the Steelers had beat the Seattle Seahawks in Detroit, right? And so when I got to the team, me being a rookie, I got to see this team try to figure it out again. And then when I won my Super Bowl in 08 and coming back and trying to see this team figure it out again, the only bridge that was common between both situations was that each guy in our locker room was waiting for the magic to happen. Right? They was always waiting for somebody to make the play. We was always waiting to, like, well, we're the Steelers. It always works itself out. And Coach is right. Getting dialed back in is one aspect, but also realizing everybody's looking for you. Everybody's going to give you the best. Even the coaches, everybody's looking for an edge on how to beat you, and getting guys to get that hunger back. It's hard to feed a full tick, right? And we had a lot of big belly ticks in there who just didn't have that dog compared to what they looked like last year. So it's very hard, and I think from a scheme standpoint, you know, this Pats team, this offensive line, there's a lot of questions. They gave them the most sacks in the league last year. You know,
so when I heard Drake May talking about like it's not going to be hard, like I thought he was talking about like not hard to turn the page from it, and I would think like you win the Super Bowl, you get the parade, and you get to go to Disney World, and you get the commercials, and you get to be on the cover. You lose the Super Bowl, you have to watch the other team have confetti fall on them. Like, that's the ultimate motivator if you want to talk about the soft factors. The Patriots, to me, strike me as the most obvious pick ever for, because we always have like a worst to first team, and then a team that made the playoffs that's going to miss next year. We always try to have like these like little categories in our predictions. They seem like the most obvious candidate for better team, worse record. Like
better team.
Like better team. They're not going to win 14 games. The schedule's going to be harder. Coach, to your point, they're going to be the hunted, right? They knocked Buffalo off in the AFC East. Like they were in the Super Bowl. Drake May got MVP votes. Like obviously people are going to be circling the Patriots on the schedule, but it's year 3 for Drake May. They add A.J. Brown. They were a really young team. They added competition on the offensive line, even if we still have some serious questions about it. Like, I feel like they could be a 10 or 11 win team, be a better football team, but have a worse record and not go as far as
Well, one of the things that helps them is the division that they're in. And the Jets obviously are struggling. Miami's there going through their problems. Buffalo.
Should be 4 wins right there.
Buffalo, you change the head coach. We don't know what that means. They think it means that they're going to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. But anytime you change a head coach and you have that uncertainty and all that transition, you know, there's a learning curve in Buffalo as well.
Yep.
So they're position-wise in the division, I think, is fantastic. And what you're hoping for is, let's say they don't realize how hard it is, that they can survive the division, win the division, and then get to the playoffs, and by then hopefully they've figured it out.
But you also want to see them get a legit run game that can help Drake May out. You got to say, Drake May banged his shoulder up last season. Like, that shoulder was not in good shape. When you have Ramondre Stevens and now you have Trayvon Henderson, there's an expectation that these two backs can carry this offense between the 20s. And I do think Romeo Doubs is an upgrade for Stephon Diggs, right? So I think they're going to be better in that department. And you got to hope A.J. Brown delivers, right? So there's a lot of question marks that have to happen for the Pats to be sufficient. If not, it's going to be a lot on that young fellas to still deliver.
It is a lot that, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. They've got a ton of expectations. But, I mean, listen, if Romeo Doubs is an upgrade from Stephon Diggs.
He was a monster in the red zone.
Okay, well, then you also have A.J. Brown. Like, that is a lot of firepower added to that team that was already crazy successful last year.
But that firepower also, you need chemistry. And that team last year seemed to have really good chemistry collectively. So you're adding those pieces and you're adding talent. But that talent all has to fit together and be pushing in the same direction.
You see that stat there on the bottom line. 4 of the last 7 Super Bowl losers missed the playoffs the following year. Obviously, it's easier now. We've expanded the playoffs, 17. If you had to bet right now, it's not predictions week, Pats, in the playoffs, out of the playoffs?
I'm going to say out.
Out.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Coach?
I would say in.
See, I would say in too. Just like there's just a lot of question marks. I got more question marks with more AFC teams than I can come up with before I get them. They might be a wild card
I think the
team.
division helps them.
Yeah, the division definitely helps them.